Well, howdy there, pipe pals. Good evening to you. How are you doing? It's me, Holy Smoking Pipe Padre. Guess I can get this a little bit closer. Okay, well, how y'all doing? Welcome to fall. Almost. It's getting pretty doggone close. It is about. Well, Mickey's little hand is on the 4, and Mickey's big hand is on the 4. So it's 4:20. Actually, I should say it's on the, yeah, it's on the 4. So, how are y'all doing? Well, I'm back with another video, and I decided that I was take kind of a leaf out of the Gentleman Scholar's book. He just posted a new video. If you get a chance to go see it, good. So, alert the media. He is back. Okay. So I'm here. Why am I here? Well, why are we here? That's a good question. Smoking some mixture GBD, Old English or Old England, and so this lovely pipe tobacco gift from Lchf. This gift, it's a wonderful and very rare tin, and I opened it a couple months ago, and I discovered that the other day that it was starting to dry out. So I am going to, and it's an English blend, obviously, and it's I always think of, when I always think of fall, I love that more pungent aroma and flavor of a mild burning Virginias. Nothing better for a fall tobacco. So I will be smoking. I'm going to try to. It's almost like a ripe vegetable. It's got to be used like now, you know, because I was able to give it a little bit of hydration, but you can only do that so many times, and it's almost like it's truly at its peak, because I noticed that when I opened it tonight, it was extremely fragrant. So it's kind of been moldering in the tin, but you can only bring it back like maybe once or twice, and after that it just starts to rapidly decline. So anyway, I am enjoying one of my favorite all-time pipes. You've seen this little cherry wood many times, and this is just one of my favorite companion pipes. Just wow. It's been a wonderful couple of days. There's a beautiful breeze in the air. You probably hear the wind chimes here in a second. I was at a garden center earlier in the week. I was looking for the Latin phrase for it is Cistus rhombifolia, commonly referred to as a grape ivy, and it was a plant that I used to just love. Had a lot of meaning for me, and the other day I just realized that, gosh, in the last several years, probably, gosh, maybe 10 years, I haven't had one of those plants. I used to, for some reason, I always just loved this plant. It reminded me of a home that I used to house sit. And they had this big magnificent one in the corner of their room, and it would get, you know, the evening, afternoon sun, and it just was a beautiful plant, especially when it would start to leaf out. And it was just a unique plant, and I really loved it. So I remember even getting clippings and of this exact plant, and getting them to sprout and then plant it on my own, and it would you know, I was kind of proud of the fact that I could get it to sprout, and you know, kind of have the same plant that was in this really wonderful house that I used to house sit. And then even in my seminary room, I had one which pretty much flourished for a number of years. But it just reminded me that I was just kind of, you know, it dawned on me. I said, you know, I haven't had living plants in my home for, I mean, in my home in the vineyard I had plants, but I didn't, for some reason I kind of got out of the habit of keeping plants. And the other day I just kind of reminded me here in the new place that I like that feeling of something alive. And although I'm very grateful in many ways for this little rectory here that I'm in now, it's a very quiet place. Let's see if we move this up just a little bit further. There we go. It's a very quiet place. But it's also situated, the sun kind of arcs this way. Oh, maybe that makes sense here. Maybe you can see this hand, it kind of goes this way, if that makes any sense to you. So I get the morning sun, but I only get it in a corner of the house, and that's the bathroom. Bathroom just gloriously, you know, gets that beautiful morning sun, which is wonderful. But the whole house pretty much sits in the shade. We got, and again, I remember commenting probably on a couple of videos back, in fact, actually in the spring, when I made one of my first videos out here talking about how glorious the backyard is, and it still is, and in the fall, as we're getting closer and closer. Again, listening to Gary's video about being in New Hampshire, and of course you people in New England, the East Coast there, especially in the upper New England part, get those beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous falls. So, you know, we're not at the same latitude here, but we're a little bit more north. I'm certainly more north now than I was in the last few years. Technically, I lived in the Bay Area, and then I moved up to the Sacramento area. So, although Sacramento has its own charm, looks like Chico's got its own wonderful charm of trees, lots and lots of trees. So anyway, there we are. There you have it. So I went out and got a beautiful fern plant. That's what you saw, I think, in the beginning of the video. And so I'm kind of reincorporating living plants back into my home. One of the things that I appreciated a lot when I was living in Deutschland was fresh cut flowers and flower boxes. And so I do cut flowers quite a bit. I enjoy my cut flowers. I mean, it adds a sense of life, and to me, you walk into a room where there's flowers, it makes me feel good. You know, I mean, it's like, well, somebody put some thought into trying to make this at least a little bit of an inviting place to be. But with plants, because they're living, and I know it might sound a little bit weird for me to say it this way, but even though I'm not as sentimental, maybe I'm sentimental, but I'm not maybe as sensitive as I might appear to be. When a plant would die, I think towards the end, when I was losing a lot more plants than I was able to keep them, and part of that was just my naivete and not knowing, you know, how, you know, photosynthesis works optimally. And I just got lucky for a few years. I was living in a couple places that the sunlight was just right. It wasn't too much. It was just a perfect amount. And all the plants in my seminary room in Palo Alto they thrived. I had a ficus tree that was the envy of just about everybody in the seminary. I mean, it was this magnificent thing. We had these huge, beautiful Victorian 14-foot ceilings. So this tree literally, you know, crested it brushed the ceiling. And it just, you know, we had these beautiful windows that were, you know, these magnificent windows. So you know, the plants just, they just would thrive. They would get like a kiss of that afternoon sun, not so much that would burn them, but just enough to just make them kind of shimmer and gold, and they just got that beautiful sunlight. This oh, beautiful sunlight, and they just, the place just was like it was like a nursery. It was like, wow. So you know, I was kind of spoiled. I got lucky, and so I just assumed that, hey, I had a green thumb, and you know, I could do no wrong. And then I got to the next place, and almost everything I got died. So anyway, it was kind of depressing, and after a while, I guess I just kind of gave up on plants and things like that. So anyway, for some reason, I kind of feel a connection of kind of going back to, no pun intended, my roots, and trying to cultivate a living thing. So there you go. And my chickens are doing pretty good, although they get quiet when I come out here. And especially when I hose the patio down and try to reclaim it, like I tried to do this afternoon. They kind of are like little truant children. They kind of know that they've been naughty, and leaving their little calling cards all over the place, because then I got to hose them all down. And I didn't take the I didn't do a real good job. I normally pretty much give it a good scouring, but tonight I just got it to where I could just sit here in this space and not worry about it. But normally I really go through and make it pretty spick and span, but I decided, well, I'll just make this inhabitable for me right now. Yeah, okay. Well, let's see. Wanted to say hello to a couple people that I haven't had a chance to respond to their comments, messages. Parola being one of those. So in fact, I was wanting to talk a little bit about something he and I have in common. And one of those things is the Lchf diet. And although I certainly have considered myself a follower of Lchf, when I stopped and I thought about it, especially in this last year, I realized that although, you know, I was doing things like the Whole30 diet, and yes, I love the Apple Watch, only because I got a new band for it. I don't know if you can see this or not. Oops, oh, I hate it when it does that. Your little Mickey there. Let's see if I can show you my activity for today. It's not really that inspiring, because I haven't really done anything. This is just a basic day of me. That's no exercise right there. So anyway, you know, I've only walked a little over 2 miles, and that's just walking back and forth from the church to the rectory, and that's it. Anyway, so but every other day, on average, I get about 8 miles a day, but I purposely go out and walk 3 in the morning and another 2 or 3 in the evening, and I do interval runs, and I do upper body and pull-ups and chin-ups and dips and push-ups and all that stuff, planks. And I still have my power blocks that I need to get back to. Maybe I'll do another TSC, who knows. But one of the things that I know that the diet, my diet has not been truly working. And part of it's, you know, and again, I'm just going to admit that I'm the one at fault, because I've been kind of trying to experiment with different things. I'd hear, you know, different things, you know, I'd listen to, I don't know about you, but on Apple TV, they give you a lot of recommendations. And because I look at a lot of health and fitness videos, I get a lot of, you know, hey, check this video out, check this YouTuber out. I'm kind of going, oh, okay. So the difference is, and of course when I started CrossFit last year, now I'm not doing CrossFit now, so I'll be honest about that. But when I did, it turned out that, and I was trying to do, and I was doing the Whole30, which is pretty much it is a low carb, but it's not a true ketosis diet. And so the people at CrossFit, and I love them. I wish I was still there. Met some really great men and women there, just people that inspired me. The energy I felt joining the CrossFit was phenomenal. The psychological energy, the physical energy, noticing some real strength gains. I mean, it was great, and I wish I could have stayed in Elk Grove just for that one. I mean, and also my ministry, of course, but CrossFit was a unique phenomenon for me, and even though they have one here, I haven't ventured to check it out. I think I had a little bit of an advantage because the owners were parishioners, and so I wouldn't say they gave me special treatment. I mean, I paid my full membership, so it wasn't like I got a freebie, but they really encouraged me to join. Now, I felt like, yeah, now if I show up to this gym, these people don't know me from Adam, and they probably would look at me like, well, what are you doing here? And I'm not saying they would, but chances are I wouldn't have that same bond. Now, I could be totally wrong about that, and all I need to do is maybe go down, and they might welcome me with open arms and say, hey, dude, good to have you, great, sign up, we're here for you. I mean, theoretically, I think that's probably what I would reasonably expect. No problem. But my first experience was so positive, I'm just kind of a little bit afraid that the second one might not be as positive. So, but anyway, because I was doing CrossFit, I really needed, at the time, I felt, to increase carbs. So for the last year, I have experimented with different levels of carbs, and to be honest, on a few occasions, I probably can number them on probably two hands, where I have just deliberately just said, to heck with counting carbs, I'm just going to enjoy this pie or this cake or these M&Ms or whatever it is, and just call it a day. But I have found out that my carb sensitivity is, I put on weight extremely rapidly and quickly when I increase carbs. And also, I don't feel so good. There was a couple of occasions where I strayed off the old diet, and the next day I literally felt like I was drugged. I felt like I literally had been drinking the night before, and I was hungover. I mean, I couldn't even, I had trouble balancing. Somebody said maybe it was an inner ear infection. Maybe that's what it was, but it happened like 2 or 3 times. And each time, I remember the night before, I had indulged heavily either in like a pizza or a special dessert or something really high carb. And the next day I was like, I didn't have slurred speech, but things were spinning around. I was having a hard time walking. If I walked too quickly, I would get like, the old where are my land legs kind of thing. So anyway, I realized that I probably needed to check out ketosis again. And so what happened was a couple of videos came on that were very inspirational. One of them was a guy a few years younger than me named Butter Bob Briggs. Butter Bob Briggs. I call him Brother Butter Bob Briggs. And this guy, talk about a real amazing transformation and a success story. He's probably 50, 51 now, but he weighed 320 pounds, and he lost over 145 pounds in 14 months. That's like 10 pounds a month. And he did it through a low carb, high fat, ketogenic diet. And so now again, you might say, well, you've done ketogenic diets, and obviously they don't work because you keep going off of them, or you keep trying different things. And the thing is that although that statement, if you said that, hey Padre, come on, you know, don't fool yourself, you've tried it before and it didn't obviously work. Well, yes and no, but the thing was, and here's the thing, even though I thought I was doing LCHF, or low carb, high fat, I really wasn't. I thought I was, because I wasn't eating carbs per se. You know, I'd count my grams and make sure I stayed. Mark Sisson says if you really want to lose weight, you know, gradually, you should be under 50. The old-fashioned Atkins diet was, you know, no, 20 is the absolute minimum for the day, and because of the insulin spikes. And but the thing, well, here's where I was going wrong. I was assuming that I was doing the diet because I was eating, you know, lean meat and vegetables and fruit. Well, I realize now that the fruit was shooting me in the foot big time. As much as I love fruit, I realize now that that was just counterproductive to everything I was doing. And I'm not here to, you know, say fruit's bad and evil. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that for me, fruit is sugar, and anytime I get sugar into my body, it just runs rampant. It is off to the races, let me tell you. So, but the other component was simply that I think that my saving grace has been, yes, I've been doing daily exercise. That's helped keep the weight off, but I haven't lost anything. I actually have gained probably about 15 pounds gradually since I've been here, but I've kind of plateaued and kind of leveled out. But the other component was, and again, it's just because of the way we've been taught over the last 34 years, is that fat is bad for you. And if you're going to do LCHF, you have to eat fat. You have to eat good fats. So I was eating, you know, lean chicken, sirloin steak, little fat, and vegetables. You know, I'd have a good salad, and I still love my salads. But again, I was loading them up with lots and lots of carbs, extra carbs. Leafy greens are great, but I was putting in all sorts of other, you know, high carb vegetables into that. So it was this huge, I mean, maybe by itself, maybe that would have been okay. But the problem is that every time, and I've noticed this, and I did this now the last 4 days, I was surprised about a few hours ago, I checked for the first time in 3 days that I'm actually in ketosis. But I've been working to get there. It's not been an accident, or, you know, I have these little test strips. And for me, I'm still lucky enough that my metabolism probably is not as messed up as I think it is. Hopefully it's not. But I usually get into ketosis within 3 to 4 days. So Thursday afternoon, after watching a Bob Briggs video, and just so I was like, I got it now. It makes sense to me. Okay, I got it. He makes it very clear. If you want to check him out, he's just a real inspiration. Wonderful guy. He's from Tennessee. Just a real gentleman. Really knows his stuff, and I can't recommend him highly enough. But anyway, so finally I said, okay, I think I finally got the message. You gotta eat. And one of those videos that caught my attention was butter made my pants fall off. And he even has T-shirts with that. I'm going to order one or two. But the thing that he recommends is, again, you got to increase the fat. You know, 65 75, maybe 80% of your diet in calories is fat, and a little bit of protein, not much, but a little bit of protein. Again, I was doing a lot of protein because I was doing the CrossFit and even doing weightlifting. And protein, excess protein can be insulinemic, so I got to be careful about that. But not nearly as bad as carbohydrates. So anyway, I used to think, well, I'm not really, you know, I would eat I was eating these lean pieces of meat and these salads, but I noticed that I really wasn't losing any weight. And also, ooh, nice smoke ring. I wish you could see that. That was like perfect. Oh man, that was a work of art there. Wish I could do that intentionally. But I never really, because what you have to do is you have to transition from carb burning to fat burning. You have to become a fat burning machine, as some of the people say. But you have to, instead of, because if you're not giving your body the carbs, you've got to give it the fat. You know, you can't just do lean protein and vegetables. You got it, because it becomes your primary fuel source. And one of the things that I've noticed when I eat carbs in any amount, a couple weeks ago I thought, well, I'll try to do a little bit of oatmeal in the morning, a piece of fruit like an apple, a bowl of oatmeal, just raw with a little bit of water, no sugar, no nothing, just, you know, just good old-fashioned. And these aren't the pre-packaged oats, they're the old rolled oats. And I thought, okay, that'll be good. And then maybe have a little piece of fruit or maybe a little egg or something at lunch, and then have a regular dinner. Well, man, let me tell you, I would be starving all day long. I would go, after an hour and 45 minutes after my oatmeal breakfast and my apple, I'd be ravenous. And I wouldn't understand why. I'm saying, well, I had I'd have a half a bowl of oatmeal and a full apple. I mean, that's not, I don't think that's starvation food. I just think it was just, you know, a moderate meal. But for some reason, I would just be, you know, ravenous within about 2 hours, less than 2 hours. Well, I'm here to tell you, after watching old brother Butter Bob Briggs, and realizing, you know, you need to eat the fat. You just got it, and good fats, of course. Coconut oil, you know, raw grass-fed butter, heavy cream in your coffee. Again, and your carbs are real low, you won't have any problems. I found out, was it just the other morning? Yesterday, I did his breakfast, the Butter Bob Briggs breakfast, which is just a few pieces of bacon, a couple of eggs, and my coffee with a little bit of heavy cream, and a little bit of butter on top of the eggs. I went, and this is no joke, I went 8 hours without feeling hungry. It was incredible. It was incredible. And normally, once I eat again, and it wasn't a huge, you know, like I just, you know, stuffed myself, but I had enough to where I felt full. But even if I was to increase the oatmeal to, say, instead of a half a cup to a whole cup, which they actually said you could have, but no more than a full cup, I still would be hungry. I'd still be ravenous. And I noticed that anytime I'd eat any kind of carbs, within about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, I'd be hungry again. So anyway, I was just so delighted to say, you know what? The thing that I was not doing on the Lchf was I wasn't eating the fat. And why? Because we've been, you know, told, taught, indoctrinated that fat is bad. Now, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a biologist, so I don't have a lot of real scientific background to back up things. But from what I understand is in the absence of carbohydrates, the fat doesn't get mostly stored as fat. Hi, chickens. So, but when you combine the carbohydrates and the sugars and the fats, then you have that recipe for disaster and weight gain and all those other things that come with it. So I'm going to see, where I'm at in a week, but already I feel a whole lot better. And granted, I will be honest, there comes a point where I do miss carbs sometimes, but I think that if you are conscientious and you're disciplined, once you go through the carb flu, I noticed this on the almost, well, for the most part on the Whole30 diet, I would pretty much, well, I don't even know how honest that is, not to say it's honest, but how accurate, because I was still doing fruit. I was doing lots and lots of fruit. So again, that's still sugar, still fructose. So again, I really wasn't totally, even though I was following their dietary guidelines, I really wasn't getting away from, although they were natural, certainly fruit's natural, although some people are now beginning to say that, most fruit is hybridized and they engineer it. Chickens, hush. They engineer it to be more sugary than traditional fruit. And I believe that that's probably true because we love sugar. I mean, look at all the sugar that we eat, whether it's in our sodas. The thing that I think was really interesting to learn is how insidious manufacturers put sugar into everything. I mean, I'm surprised, this is all in German, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was, Zucker in here somewhere, but, sometimes I think they put sugar in everything. They'd probably put sugar in air if they could, It's just, sugar is everywhere. So anyway, I'm kind of excited about the fact that, okay, now it's kind of a new day. Let's try and really follow this diet for the first time and not be afraid of the fat. So, again, I had a nice breakfast after my last service, my last Mass this morning, about 10 o'clock. It's almost 5 o'clock here. Oops. Oh, blasted. Sometimes this, there we go. Yep. Once you take it off, you gotta put your code back in. Okay. So, I'm gonna see where we are in a couple of weeks. Because my goal has always been to lose a true 100 pounds. And I got close. I was about 3 pounds close once, actually twice. But then, I kind of would treat myself to, goodies, especially around the holidays. And I know that we're coming up, starting all the big sugar holidays, starting with Halloween and actually Labor Day. Tomorrow's Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, by the way. It's kind of a day that we celebrate and indulge, and so Labor Day and Halloween, and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, all these big holidays, and then all the other little celebrations that you might have with, unexpected friends getting together and family and stuff. So it's real easy, certainly, if you realize how carbohydrates just really, and again, I'm not here to trash people that are, like the vegan people, and God bless them. I think some people are able to do really great on those diets. And I say, God bless them, I think that's all great. Vegetarians are, I don't have anything against them, or vegans. I know I've said in the past, I'm a little bit alarmed at some of the excessive vitriol that comes out of some of the people. They have a really, they have an altered mind state. They see the world in a completely different way than I do. But that's we live in pretty big world, and I think that's a blue jay on the awning up there. So the world's a big place for everybody. Not everybody subscribes to the things that I believe in, and I don't subscribe to the things that a lot of people believe in, but I think I am able to listen respectfully listen to their point of view. Maybe at the end of the day, I might give them a tip of the hat and say, well, God bless you, or hey, you know, good for you, good on you, and I salute your efforts, and if it's working for you, then you go, you enjoy and have a good life. It's not for me, and I would hope that they could have the same reciprocation as saying, well, you know, I don't agree with what you're doing. I think it's destructive. You know, I think it's dangerous. You know, some people tell you that the ketogenic diet is dangerous. But from what I have seen and even experienced on a small experience, I have experienced positive results. But at the same time, I hadn't really been knowledgeable about the whole thing and doing it correctly. So I'm doing it now kind of according to Bob Briggs and a couple other people I've found that are doing keto diets. There's a really nice gal called Felicia Nurse, who's a nurse, or, you know, real RN, and really knowledgeable, really knows her biology, really lovely person, but really good about what you need to do about this diet. And I guess she's been on it for almost a couple of years now, lost a lot of weight, looks great, has a good, you know, mental outlook. So there's a lot of people that I'm finding that are really laymen and women that seem to really know what they're doing, and it's been really helpful to me, and kind of really helping me really navigate and say, okay, you know, I really wasn't doing that. I thought I was. And so anyway, that's all I wanted to share tonight, this afternoon. Lovely afternoon, almost evening here in Chico. Got my chickens, obviously you see, and you probably heard in the background, maybe see, just out here on this beautiful patio, enjoying a beautiful, almost fall evening. It's just great. Well, anyway, as I want to say at times, you know, light up your world, light up your pipe. And, you know, send me a comment. Tell me how you're doing. It's always nice to hear from people. Had a nice couple, you know, I've always have, but for the most part, people have been really kind and encouraging. I want to also take this one last opportunity tonight, this afternoon, just to apologize. I think my last video was a bit melancholy. Obviously, I didn't mean it to be so melancholy. I hope I didn't alarm anybody. Sometimes I do, I don't know if I get really totally depressed. I don't know if I, that's another thing. Last January, actually last October, last January, I had all the amalgam fillings, all the metal taken out of my mouth after watching David Getoff, Dr. David Getoff. And, you know, he said that there's just so much toxicity that comes from the mercury in the fillings, the amalgam fillings. And if you can get them removed, you should do that as soon as you can. Well, I took his advice, and I'm really grateful for that. I have to say, I don't have nearly as many psychotic episodes as I once had. But sometimes I still get a little bit of depressed from time to time. I mean, not as bad as I once did. I used to suffer, you know, I used to suffer quite a lot. I mean, I still have periods where I struggle with life, as we all do. But I think that did something. I don't know exactly what it did. but it seemed to kind of level me out a little bit. I'm not quite as manic as I used to be. I mean, I used to really be really manic and then really up and down. I'm kind of a little bit more like this now, which is nice, especially for those who have to work with me and sometimes live with me, like Father Leon or Father Tamayo. So anyway, just trying to, be open to life. I think that's all this is all about, open to life. And life is good. Life can be very good. So I hope you're having a good life wherever you are. So good night now, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time.